I'll jump into our Carolrhoda picture books for this season. First up is a new series, Dino World. Lisa Wheeler and Barry Gott are as enthusiastic as ever about the dinosaurs and really looking forward to taking them on some new adventures beyond sports, beyond holidays. So we're kicking this series off with Dino School. This book follows the full school year, highlighting key occasions throughout the year, including a fall festival, the 100th day of school, and track and field day. There's a very cute subplot with a tiny new dino named Yi who shows up partway through the school year. And Yi is based on a dinosaur discovered in China and officially named as a species in 2015. And Diplo is trying to befriend Yi, and Diplo is enormous and terrifying. And this sort of plays out throughout the school year, and by the end of the year, they're friends, and it's very cute. So it's another really fun one from Lisa and Barry, and perfect for back to school and throughout the school year. Next up, we have a real standout poetry collection from Sun Young Shin, who we know from the book Where We Come From, and Malina Mungal, who we know from The Vast Wonder of the World. This book introduces readers to James Boggs and Grace Lee Boggs, who were activists and an interracial couple who were based in Detroit in the second half of the 20th century. They worked together for decades on causes including civil rights and auto workers unions, and James, for a long time, worked at a car factory. This book has been many years in the making. Sun Young met with Grace and interviewed her in the early 2000s. Grace, incidentally, lived to be 100 years old. She passed away in 2015. There have been a couple of other recent children's nonfiction books, mostly serious nonfiction with very cartoony art about Grace, but there are no books for young people about the two of them as a couple or about James. The art in this book is incredible. It's from local fine artist Leslie Barlow in her picture book debut. Leslie has a deep connection to many of the issues highlighted in the book. Danielle and I have actually been to her studio to see the art in person. Many of the pieces are painted at 3 times the size that they'll appear in the book. It's really incredible. She works with oil paints and mixed media, and the finished pieces are all going to be just stunning. This book will appeal to fans of Carol Boston Weatherford's nonfiction and poetry, and I think it'll be a real standout on our list. Next up is our newest book with Karen Stelson, which explores themes of war and peace, as we've sort of seen present in different ways throughout all of her books with us. This book tells the story of a soldier from Lanesboro, Minnesota, named Orval Amdahl. He served in Nagasaki, Japan after the atomic bombing there. He returned home with a Japanese sword, which he received as a war souvenir, as well as his memories of devastation that he did his best to forget about. For about 60 years, Orval oiled the sword, keeping it in good condition, but not really sure what he should ultimately do with it. Then one day, a visitor arrived. None other than Karen Stelson herself, doing research for the book that became Sachiko. Through a connection at the Nagasaki St. Paul Sister City Committee, Karen sent a photo of the sword and a tag, which was known as a surrender tag, that had information in Japanese, to a contact in Nagasaki. And this contact was able to locate the original family of the sword owner within about 24 hours. The remarkable story culminates with a ceremony at Como Park in St. Paul, in which Orval personally returned the sword to the Motomura family, who traveled from Nagasaki for the occasion. It's a great book for Veterans Day, as well as for exploring themes of peace and reconciliation.
The art is from Amanda Yoshida, who is Japanese American. She was very excited to illustrate this book because, as she said when we hired her 7-year-old son is obsessed with World War II.
The Motomura family has reviewed the text, and the back matter is going to include a note from the son of the original sword owner. And then for something completely different, we have a delightful new picture book from Beth Mills, who's author and illustrator of Ella McKean Kickball Queen, which we published in 2019. This new book will have big appeal for fans of books like Creepy Carrots. It features Herbert, the politest French bulldog you will ever meet. When Herbert's after-school nanny, Ms. Goat, and I just have to point out, get it? She's a nanny goat. When she starts collecting garden gnomes, they really creep him out. But if he tells Miss Goat he doesn't like her gnomes, that would be rude, wouldn't it? Though he lies to her. The gnomes keep on collecting. There's sort of a new one seemingly added every day, and they have amazing names like Mr. Wittershins and Mrs. Nickety Neck. And these gnomes will not stop staring at Herbert, which offends him horribly. And through a series of hilarious events, including when he kidnaps all the gnomes and takes him to his newly created Academy of Basic Etiquette, one of the mottos is staring is not caring. Herbert eventually learns that it is possible, after all, to be both polite and honest. Next up, I'll just quickly run through the paperbacks we have coming out this season. Almost to Freedom by Vonda Basho Nelson, for which Colin Bootman won a CSK Illustrator honor. Then we have Game Changer by John Coy, about a secret basketball game that took place during the height of segregation and Jim Crow. And then Looking Like Me by really incredible author Walter Dean Myers, illustrated by his son Christopher Myers, which was all about identity. And finally, Hair Story by Nika Ramos, illustrated by Keisha Morris, that explores hairstyles and hair textures through the lens of two characters with Puerto Rican heritage. Now we'll jump on over to Millbrook. First up is I Truck, our newest book with Kelly Rice Schmidt and Jam Dong, following up on the delightful I Ship and I Fuel. This book follows the journey of a semi-truck with a female driver accompanied by her trusty and adorable dog. They travel from the Midwestern U.S. to the West Coast as the winter holidays approach. The truck is carrying toys, and along the delivery route, it encounters multiple obstacles, including a way station, a snowstorm, and steep mountain roads. Back matter includes a truckload of fascinating facts, and the end sheets feature a seek and find element that will have readers hunting through the pages again and again. Next up is The Big Empty, a really lovely lyrical book from Kirby Fagan, who illustrated We Are the Scrappy Ones, that comes out in spring of 2025. This is Kirby's first book as both author and illustrator. Well, this book isn't exactly about disability in the way that We Are the Scrappy Ones is. This book is about big sagebrush, which is most definitely a scrappy plant in the American West. It's written from the perspective of the plant with very spare poetic text, and Kirby explores the many roles big sagebrush plays in the ecosystem, including providing food for grazing animals, branches to cradle birds' nests, and shadows to conceal both predators and prey. The book also touches on the role of wildfire, describing features of big sagebrush that help it survive and grow back after a fire. The art features expansive landscapes with a wide variety of animals, including wild horses, pronghorns, snakes, hawks, and various other species of birds. It's a really lovely book for conversations about ecosystems and food chains. Then we have Liftoff from author and illustrator Nina Cruz. This book introduces readers to Alma Thomas, a pioneering Black abstract artist. And in particular, it focuses on the creation of one of her paintings called Snoopy Sees a Sunrise, which was inspired by the Apollo 10 mission, in which astronauts traveled to the moon but did not land on the surface. They landed on the Apollo 11 mission. This book is written as a dual narrative in which spreads alternate between Alma's process creating the painting and the story of the Apollo 10 mission. The name of the painting itself, Snoopy Sees a Sunrise, comes from the fact that the astronauts nicknamed the two parts of their spacecraft and called one part Charlie Brown and the other Snoopy. And Snoopy was the lunar module that at the end of their mission was jettisoned into space to just travel off on its own forever. The book concludes with a reproduction of the painting itself, as well as further information about Alma Thomas's life and the moon missions. And you can see here on the cover and sample spread, Nina's incorporated into her art this sort of element of Alma's own painting, which she called Alma stripes, which are these sort of colorful dashed lines with little bits of white in between. NASA is preparing to return to the moon in 2026 with the Artemis missions, which will be a great tie-in for this book. Now we can move on. Rewriting the Rules is an excellent picture book bio from debut author Dana Ziegler that introduces Dr. Kathleen Friel. It's illustrated by Josie Bissayon, a prolific Canadian illustrator who we know from Benno and the Night of Broken Glass. Kathleen was diagnosed with cerebral palsy as a baby, and that's a brain injury that affects movement. A doctor told her parents she'd never be able to walk normally or speak clearly. Well, her parents walked out of that doctor's office never to return, found a much more upbeat and positive doctor, and while Kathleen did face a variety of challenges growing up, she also thrived. After becoming fascinated with science in high school, she went on to study the brain and ultimately earned a PhD. Kathleen proved that, contrary to what many doctors and scientists believed at the time, injured brains can build new pathways and new connections. She applied this research to other people with cerebral palsy, and she now runs her own lab, which is focused on working with children with CP to help them retrain their brains and build new connections. This is a fantastic book about a woman in STEM that's also great for Disability Pride Month. We had 2 sensitivity readers on this book, and Dr. Friel herself has also reviewed the text for accuracy. Back matter includes more information about cerebral palsy and the structure of the brain, as well as additional resources. And then over to our photo books. First up is Watch Them Grow, which was one of our 2 middle grade books this season. It's our first book with author Carrie A. Pearson, who became really interested in the topic of animal development after seeing photos and highly realistic illustrations of animals in utero. This book is aligned to the next generation science standards for middle school, especially growth and development, structure and function, and variation of traits. The chapters feature a great range of animals, highlighting how they develop some of their key features, including an elephant's trunk and a great white shark's many, many teeth. There are great images throughout that will really draw in readers. And the cover, by the way, features 3 bats in utero, and you can see the progression of the wing development from one photo to the next. We have one paperback in Millbrook this season. It's RoboMotion, which introduces different robots that were built to mimic various animals. Very cool, very high interest. And then for our new K-3 photo book in hardcover this season, we have How Rude. It's from Jessica Fries-Gaither, who is author of Nature's Rule Breakers. This book presents some standard rules that kids will be familiar with from home and school, such as don't steal, and then it introduces animals that break those rules as a matter of survival. For instance, penguins, which we see charmingly featured on the cover, will still steal rocks from other penguins' nests in order to construct a nest to impress a potential mate, because everyone knows the bigger the nest, the better. This one would be a hilarious pairing with our picture book, No More Gnomes, in which we have a very politeness-obsessed character. Finally, for me, Dinosaur Secrets Revealed, which is our newest book from Sandra Markle. It's for middle grade readers in grades 4 to 6. This book focuses on how high-tech tools are being used by paleontologists to make new discoveries about dinosaur fossils. Each chapter focuses on a specific question, such as how speedy was T-Rex? Or how did giant dinosaurs walk without breaking their feet? As you'd expect with Sandra Markle, there are eye-catching photos throughout the book and lots of great science information.